What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with my boy LQ, and we got a special guest today.
Hi,
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Din, and I am with 5 Wide Football. We do fantasy football takes as well. I've got a YouTube channel, Twitter, and a website. It's primarily me with a little bit of help from some of my friends and obviously other YouTubers. So I'm very happy to be on here with Real Deal Fantasy. Been listening to some of his videos. He's got a good following, definitely knows what he's talking about, and gets pretty in deep on his breakdowns. And I love that he's already getting into the mock drafts because
I've been mocking like solo by myself. I've been mocking since after the Super Bowl, to be honest, because that's just how obsessed I am with this fantasy football stuff. And like, I like the mock draft just to get the gist and get the flow of things. Cause like I've been mock drafting, let's say for the past 2 months now. And I've been seeing Dalvin Cook come closer and closer to that top 5 of where he's going. So it's like, you know, as you keep doing it, you just get the flow of things, get the flow of the draft. And of course, none of these mock drafts really mirror any of my my home leagues, like my big money leagues that, you know, I have my league mates, because we all know it all depends on your league mates, their habits, tendencies, and what they do every year. I have a guy in my league that drafts Tyrod Taylor for the past 3 years.
Why?
Hear me out.
I'm hoping it's at the end of the draft, not early.
Yeah, of course, it's at the end of the draft. The highest I've seen him take was probably like the 11th round, I think, that year where he was with the Browns. But that is neither here or there, because he's a big fan of Tyrod and he wants him to win so bad, which is cool. You ride for your quarterbacks. I believe in that. But he actually is debating on taking him higher than, you know, he usually would be, being that he has the starting job in LA.
Depends on what happens there with Herbert, but
yeah. He's not a Herbert believer, but I don't want to give him too much content on that, but we'll see what happens with Tyrod.
we will. I have a guy in one of my leagues that always takes a defense in the first 10 rounds.
What?
In fact, he took Seattle's defense back in maybe 15 or 16 in the 3rd round. He took New England's defense in the 5th round last year. Yeah, he doesn't do that great.
Defense was one of the top, so maybe he got some good value there.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I avoid defenses, but I feel like it's too much of a crapshoot. But you know, to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, I'm old school. I shouldn't say old school. I mean, my last 2 picks are a kicker and defense. That's just how I do it. I like to build depth with my running backs and wide receivers, obviously, and then the recent years, I actually haven't grabbed that second quarterback. I've been riding with one quarterback until the bye week and just hit waivers. So I've been getting lucky doing that. You know what I mean?
Yep. I didn't even draft a kicker in 2 of my leagues because we did the draft too early, in my opinion, where I wasn't sure who the clear-cut number 2 running back was in some of these teams. So I took up the 2nd and 3rd guy in the depth chart, and once we figured it out, I cut one and picked up a kicker.
You got to hoard them, man. You definitely got to do it.
Yeah.
But let's get into these Giants, man. I'm going to start doing for the Wolfpack, you guys that are watching, Real Deal fans, I'm going to be doing a series breakdown on some of these offensives. And I want to start with the Giants. I'm going to be doing NFC. Cody's going to be doing the AFC. So you'll see a couple of videos with him probably later next week. But I want to kick it off with the Giants. So let's get into it, man. Now, I just want to break down the wide receiver core. Let's start there. Because Saquon's pretty much covered that he's a full send, that you're going to draft him regardless. I don't care where you get him in the top 4, but he will be drafted in the 1st round. But these wide receivers, man, it's very interesting. Now, as you being a Giants fan, I want to ask you, who is your clear number 1 wide receiver there?
So it's funny. Being a Giants fan, I thought right off the bat, I'm like, okay, it's Shepard. Like, I love watching him. He's got a lot of upside, very talented. And then I went back and I looked at it, and he's never had 1,000 yards. He's like a very hit and miss player. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, do I actually think Shepard's the number 1? So I did a little bit more digging, and I think that the number 1 is probably Slayton, especially if you're talking dynasty. Uh, he's much faster. He's much bigger. Shepard's a slot receiver.
Yeah.
Slayton averaged unbelievable amount of yards per reception. He didn't come on till later. He fits Garrett's, because you can't look at the head coach with the new head coach. So you got to look at Jason Garrett. I think he fits what Jason Garrett wants to do better than Shepard. So I think it goes Slayton, Shepard, Tate. But I think it's a lot closer than people think.
It's really close because when I was doing the wide receiver breakdowns, I was looking at their targets, and that really didn't give me much information because they weren't on the field a lot at the same time. So with Tate missing the first 4 weeks with suspension, it kind of was just like, all right, well, Slayton's getting his work, and then Shepard's getting his work. He did suffer injury, but like you said, Shepard in the slot, I think he works there. He was in the slot 40% of the time last year and snap opportunity. And I think that's where he should be living. You know what I mean? Even though I feel like Golden Tate, you could put him anywhere because we remember his time in Detroit and he was like the PPR monster there. Like he was giving us 90 catches like back-to-back years. So I was like, holy shit, when they traded him, I wasn't too sure why. You know what I mean? But to be fair, when they drafted Kenny Golladay, I knew Tate was probably going to get faded out. And Marvin Jones, he was always hit or miss as well. But Golden Tate, I feel like he was just on his way out. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to get that big contract that he was probably looking for. So when they moved him to the Eagles, it was like surprising still because he was so productive. I mean, Kenny Golladay is the outside guy, the big wide receiver. He's going to spread the field. He could make a play any place of the field as well. So I think with Tate going to the Giants, he actually surprised me when he returned back. It was not that immediate week 5 week, but it was week 6, 7, and 8 that blew me up that he was very productive PPR wise. You know what I mean? So he was putting up points. And so he's attractive to me to actually take one of these late round flyers on Tate, or even if I miss out on Slayton. And it's like, I don't know, Tate kind of like feels like he could be the guy. But like you said, Slayton, he's looking like he's dominating in his position right there, being Daniel Jones' like favorite target.
And I think it's going to be in a redraft league. I think that the three of them are very, very close. And I think in a dynasty league, Slayton's significantly better. I don't like that Tate's going to be 32, that he's kind of bounced around a little bit, and he hasn't put up 1,000 yards in a couple of years. Yeah. So I think what separated Tate from Shepard for me, because I feel like they're both going to get a decent amount of targets, they're both going to get a decent amount of catches, is age. And it's just Shepard's going to be Tate's going to be 32, and he's bounced around a little bit. It makes me a little
bit past his peak. He's like on the downslope of his time in the league. So we'll see how that turns out.
And his catch percentage last year wasn't great. He was still getting the targets, and he had some big games, but he wasn't catching. He had a 57. I pulled it up, 57% last year, where historically he's up in the upper 60s. So,
yeah, that is true. That was a little bit alarming, and I definitely think the team moves definitely affect the player. So when he went to the Eagles and now he's in the Giants, that definitely affects like the player's mental of like their actual value, as a player. Like I feel like with that move, I feel like he fits better with you guys with the Giants than with the Eagles, you know what I mean? So I think we can get a little bit of something out of Tate this season, but I'm not too sure what his ceiling is. Like I got him like wide receiver 3, at best, if you're like one of those deep leagues, and then maybe a flex here and there. Like he's definitely a guy that went undrafted last year as well. And I got to say, I picked him up off of waivers after week 4, knowing he was coming back. And he put up some decent points on my bench. I didn't take the risk of putting him in. He put up like some decent points on the bench. So I was actually surprised he was able to do that. Now with Shepard, I feel like we can get that 1,000-yard season out of Shepard. It's just a matter of him staying healthy and then him building that chemistry with the young Danny Dimes. You know what I mean?
That's going to be big. That's going to be big. So I got a question for you. As a Giants fan, I'm real happy, surprisingly, even though he came from the Cowboys. I think that Jason Garrett opens up a lot. I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. and an average head coach. I mean, do you think that makes any of the Giants players more desirable with more of that
Um,
pass first offense?
um, it depends because let's say, like I asked you earlier before we went on, Daniel Jones being worth a draft pick. Now, honestly, I can't see myself taking Daniel Jones as a QB1 for my team. I can't see him actually making my roster for a QB2, but I think we all have to lay this weight on Daniel Jones. It all depends on if he can take this next step to be, the above average quarterback or the elite quarterback. It'll make or break him. I really don't think Jason Garrett comes into where we have to rely on him to make these players desirable. I mean, the new head coach change, yeah, it's good, it's cool, but how is Danny Dimes going to play? How is he going to make any of these wide receivers relevant? I mean, he lives with, the check down to Saquon. That's good and all, the screens, he gets the yards for that, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know how good Daniel Jones is right now to make me want to, make him a draft pick. And like I said, with Slayton, Shepard, and Tate, it's all going to depend on if Danny Dimes can get that ball out of the pocket. And you guys definitely went into the draft. You guys drafted 3 offensive linemen. So you added some pieces there to protect Danny Dimes. And these linemen aren't small.
No.
There's some big guys. There's some bullies in the trenches there. So they picked up some good linemen.
So I think, and it's hard to project already, and I think it's even a little harder with questions on what's going to happen with practices. But I was doing some research into sophomore slump for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is it usually happens when a quarterback is a really, really good rookie year. I found an article, they had done 44 quarterbacks, and actually on average, quarterbacks slightly improved the second year.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, I think, falls into the category where I think he's going to slightly improve. Their tackles led the league in pressures. Their pressures allowed with 97. Nate Soldier allowed 57 pressures last year, which was the most by 7 more than anyone else. And yet PFF ranked them only slightly below average with offensive line. They came in at like 17th. So they got a really good interior line. They got good guards. They're talking about the guard they drafted moving to center, and I think that they picked up tackles. So I think Daniel Jones takes a step forward. I just don't know. Like, he was QB 24 last year in 12 games. I think he could move up to that high-end QB2, low-end QB1. I'm still not drafting him either. Unless I'm sitting, late round and Daniel Jones is still available. I need my number 2 QB, and I'm like, well, I'm a Giants fan. I'll take him for number 2.
Why not?
But I'm not putting him as my number 1. But I think the moves to the offensive line.
I feel like Daniel Jones' ceiling is probably, if I had to compare him to like a QB2, I would say there's weeks where Jared Goff, in that offense where we were exploding, the first look of the offense, Goff was going off, I think he almost broke 4,500 yards that year. And then that's when Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, they were all like collectively close to having 1,000 yards each. So I'll say Daniel Jones needs the time in the pocket. With you guys adding those pieces around him, because if you look at him in Duke, I mean, he's not one of those quick, Drew Brees or Tom Brady's quickly throw the ball. He needs time to have the play develop around him. So if you guys can protect him, that only helps him to be able to analyze and find the guy open. Even Evan Engram, if he can stay healthy, he'll become relevant if Danny Jones is protected. So you need to protect him at all costs. And I do like and appreciate what you guys did in the draft, because that just, again, like your question before, that makes the players around him fantasy relevant other than Saquon. So exactly. Go ahead.
And I hated the Daniel Jones pick heading into last year. I was furious. When he's got time, he's got a cannon.
Yes.
And he's accurate. He's a much better quarterback than I thought. So I'm looking at stats from last year. I think that his ceiling is probably a good comp to like what Goff did or what like Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins did. like somewhere in that range where you're looking at that low end QB1. And if he does that, that's like 1,000 more yards. That's a couple more touchdowns, and
It's like
that's
10
less
more touchdowns than
turnovers.
what he did. He had like 24, right?
Let's see. I'm not positive on this touchdowns for. He had. Did he have 24? I've got all of them up in front of me real quick. So let me just
Yeah, I
pull up.
think he had like 24, which isn't terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he had 24 touchdowns. Yeah.
Nice.
24 touchdowns, 3,000 yards. What
Yeah.
killed is he had 6 fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy from Duke. He's all right.
That was
He can get away with that.
about 50-50 him in the line.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, the only way a quarterback fumbles the ball if he has a guy in his face as soon as he calls Mike. That's
Yep.
usually when it happens. You know what I mean? So what you got to add in those pieces, they'll definitely help him to project. You know, that's 1,000 more yards, like we said. That's 10 more touchdowns. If he could break the 30, 32, era with the touchdowns, Daniel Jones is looking at a low-end QB1. And then next season, we could talk about being like, you know what, Daniel Jones might be my QB2, going to next season or whatever the case may be. Like, when my guys on a bye week, I can confidently put Daniel Jones in that slot, start and forget it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that I hope, knocking on some wood, I hope that's what happens. But to get back to your question about receiver, so I think when you look at that, you see all 3 of the Giants receivers living in that same area where they're wide receiver 2 or flex. They're guys you take in the middle, the back end of a draft, just because there's so many question marks. I think they all have high. I think Golden Tate, you know what you're getting, but I think with Shepard and Slayton, you've got high ceilings. Slayton's got the highest ceiling, but Slayton's also got the lowest floor. So I'm definitely not taking any of them probably in the first 6 or 7 rounds.
Yeah, I think they all live in the 10th round. So let me give you a quick scenario. So let's say Slayton's off the board and he's off in the 10th round. So it's 11th round. You're looking at Shepard and Tate. Who would be the guy that you would take confidently to have on your bench to, like, I like to preach that I don't like bench warmers. Like, they're useless. They just sit on your bench the entire year. They're not guys that you can confidently put in when that guy's on a bye week or when one of your players get injured. I need a guy that's going to be serviceable. I like to be fair. I don't like to be like, drastic. Between 10 to 15 points I can get out of this guy confidently that he's like averaging in between like week to week. That's good. That's fine. He can be serviceable or whatever like that. Who do you think out of Tate and Shepard you'll get that week to week to be let's say Slayton's crowned wide receiver 1? Who would be the wide receiver 2 on that team?
If I'm sitting there and I'm taking one to be on the bench, I'm taking Shepard because, like I said, I think he's got the higher upside. If I'm actually going to be playing one, I think I'm taking Tate. That's hard. It's hard to come out and say just straight up. I think Shepard's got the higher upside. I think he's got a little bit more of a repertoire with Jones. I pulled up. He had the most. He had the second most. No, he had the most targets when all of them were on the field. The most catches, the most yards last year. It was a small sample size. So I think. Actually, I'm going to scratch that. Either way, I'm taking Shepard. I like him just a little bit more than Tate. I think his floor is similar, and he's got a slightly higher ceiling.
You're not worried about his injury history?
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried, but
Are you putting that to consideration of your pick over Tate?
Yeah, because he has had 2 of the first 4 seasons he played the full season, and he's younger. So Tate has been a little bit more durable, but Tate's going to be 32.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a wash.
With Shepard, I love when he's able to be 100% healthy. I love when he gets the groove going. It's just, it worries me with him with injury, you know what I mean? With the concussions, he had like a neck sprain or something like that. And like the concussions, they're not like as bad as a Wes Welker. They're not as bad as a Brandon Cooks or anything like that. So I don't want to hold that over his head saying that'll be like become a problem. But, I just look at it like if I'm going to be in that position, I need a guy who's going to be available to me. I don't want this guy, getting hurt. Now he's on my bench, and then now my other guy got hurt. It's like now I'm, asked out of two players right now.
And I don't think that's my fear more with like Engram. I don't think
Yeah,
Shepard has been as bad injury prone where I'm like complete, he's missed 12 games in 11 games in 4 seasons, but
not terrible. Yeah,
he's not missing the long stretches. It's primarily concussions, and it has to do with his size.
that is true. Yeah,
That's where I look at so Evan Engram for me is I'm really excited if I can have him as my number 2 tight end.
yeah.
The guy's got tremendous upside, but I know people who won't touch him because of the injuries. You won't even take him as your backup.
No, sir. I only take one tight end, and it all depends because I play it. I'll say every 2 years we get a new tight end that's on the rise that builds that beautiful connection that we love with the quarterback and the tight end. Now with Daniel Jones and Evan Engram, it hasn't really developed to like a beautiful connection yet because being that Daniel Jones is going to a second year, Evan Engram was injured, whatever. So I feel like it could be very special with Daniel Jones and Evan Engram if Engram can stay healthy. That's one of the connections I think will be like even better than a Shepard and Danny Dimes and with Tate or whoever with Slayton and Daniel Jones. I think Evan Engram can be his number one go-to target because Evan Engram is better than all three of those guys we just named. You know what I mean? So I feel like this can be the year that we'll get a healthy Evan Engram. He can miss 2 to 3 games. That's my cap for him. He can miss 2 to 3 games. I'll give him that. But I feel like this will be the year Evan Engram actually, shows up and shows out with, the connection building, the chemistry building with Danny Dimes.
Well, he's got to, or else they're not gonna keep him around. They're not gonna pick up his option. He's gotten worse every season though. Yeah. His rookie year, he looked unbelievable. I thought that we had
even with the drop passes, the issues that he had with, catching the damn ball. But
he's a rookie though.
Yeah.
You give him a little bit more slack. I thought he was Jeremy Shockey 2.0.
Ooh.
If you can remember, Jeremy Shockey had a stretch there until he broke his leg, where he was
a bully.
He was very good. And I was watching Engram, and I'm like, he's got Shockey's size. He's got Shockey's skill set. Shockey dropped occasionally too, would drop some balls, but he made up for it in the fact that it took 3 guys to take him down. He blocked well, and he ran good routes. And I was like, Engram could be I thought his ceiling might even have been a little higher than Shockey's. He looked a little bit more athletic in the open
a little bit more like agility and stuff, and a little bit faster, I would say.
Because Shockey's big thing was, I don't even know. Shockey might have been faster than people thought because he liked to run over the corners. It'd be
he looked for contact. Yeah. He wanted the contact.
You'd see a cornerback coming to get him, and you'd be like, can Shockey beat him to the edge? No, he's going to run him over. He's just going to run him over. I think
Evan Engram will actually hurdle over someone, actually.
Yeah.
He could do that.
So I'm nervous with Engram. But then, we'll see. The other thing is Rhett Ellis retired, and I'm drawing a blank. Ingram's backup looked pretty good last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Giants tight end, how can I not think of his name right now? And now that Rhett Ellis is retired, do you think that do you know who I'm talking about right now?
I have an idea.
Giants backup tight end. I can't remember his name, and it's killing me because this is my team. I'm trying to pull it up he had a really good end of the season. Yeah. Caden Smith.
Ah, yeah.
Would any chance that you look at? I think he's a guy you monitor for waivers. I would use a waiver.
He's definitely added to the watch list. There's guys that I add to the watch list that I think obviously are behind injury-prone players. He'll be one of them, definitely.
I think his talent though, because they did some two tight ends last year. He really killed it near the end of the season. And Rhett Ellis retired, and I don't know if you know that was the Giants' backup. Caden Smith was their number 3, and he looked. I feel like he's part of the reason why Rhett Ellis retired, because he was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna not see the field anymore." Because he, in his last. Yeah, when he got on the field, the last game of the season last year, he had 98 yards and 8 catches. I think he's really got he's got the possibility, if Engram gets injured, that you want to watch him on waivers. If Engram gets injured,
to watch list. And I think you guys, like, the Giants just have good development of tight ends. Like, it just is what it is. So I would be willing to, put him on the watch list, because I know once he gets into that position, he's going to perform well. You know what I mean? He has the opportunity to bring in points week to week. And it's just the problem with Engram staying healthy. Engram can be that top 5 tight end that we wish he can be, but it's kind of like the story of what Hunter Henry. You know what I mean? Hunter Henry has this wave train. He has this hype train. And him and Engram are every year always put higher than what they should be, based on, their potential skill. And I think Engram can actually be a top 5, tight end if he stays healthy this year.
And did you see that? Somebody posted that on Twitter the other day. Who would you rather have, Hunter or Engram? And somebody else posted, well, Engram broke his arm signing the contract, and Hunter tore his ACL walking there. So now you don't have either. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like, Hunter Henry tears his ACL out for the season. The good thing about Engram is he hasn't had any of those real major injuries. He just always seems to be like, he plays 2-3 games and then he's out for 2-3 weeks. Then he plays for 2-3 weeks.
And he's out again.
Yeah, which makes me a little less nervous than like somebody who's blown an Achilles or an ACL or had that surgery.
They're completely done, or they take a step back from going into the next season. But I feel like good things can happen for Engram. I feel like that offense can be, as a whole, relevant, win more than 4 games, you know what I mean? Make some noise in that division. I mean, it's a very hard division. I'll say you guys have the second best division. That's just my opinion. That's just, you got the Giants, and then you got Cowboys that are freaking improving crazy with CD Lamb. Eagles are always going to be contenders. It's just the Redskins, they're hit or miss. They had that little 5-game 5-0 with Alex Smith, and then there's that. But that division's very competitive, and the rivalry is just crazy between all 4 of you teams. And like, obviously, I'll say NFC West has the best division, the hardest division every single year. And I feel like you guys can make some noise in that division and be relevant fantasy wise and in reality. You know what I mean?
The good thing, it is a competitive division. Last year it was a little bit down. The good thing about the Giants, though, is there's only one good defense in their division. Now, you're a huge Rams fan, so obviously you're saying the NFC West. But, like, the thing that scares me sometimes away from the NFC West is the style that's played out there. Like, the Seahawks defense isn't as good as it's been, and the Cardinals defense is a little down too. But, like, they play hard-nosed football out there. And you got to play San Francisco twice a year. You got to play Seattle, who, even though their defense isn't quite what it was a few years ago, it's still always good.
Yeah.
The Giants are now, like, the NFC seems to be going more towards that run and gun. Like, the Giants get to play the Cowboys, which have been shootouts the last few years. The Eagles defense is good, but not as good as it's been. The Redskins, they're like a slightly better version of the Browns. They just can't get their shit together. Like, they can't. I was 100% positive they were going to blow that and draft like another quarterback instead of Chase Young. I was waiting for them to take like Justin Love,
Jordan Love
with the number 2 pick. I'm like, well, let's see. They're going to take Love. Watch it. Because they have. And even when it appears like they get it right with RG3, he goes off and gets injured.
Yeah. But honestly, I think if we touch on that real quick, I think that was RG3's fault. You know what I mean? He wanted to play that type of style ball. He didn't want to protect himself. He didn't want to run to the sidelines. Sliding was difficult for him. He was taking the hits that he didn't need to take, playing through injury. I know you want to lead your team to the playoffs and win it all, but you got to think longevity. I know what I mean? He put his body through wear and tear that he really didn't need to do. You know what I mean? I know everybody wants to be Michael Vick in 04, but not everybody is Michael Vick. You know what I mean? So I kind of more so put that weight on RG3. He was supposed to come in and be the guy for the next 5 to 10 years. But, with injury and how his playing style was just so wild, it was just like, how can the Redskins honestly invest into a quarterback like that? You know what I mean? So his demise was his fault. I don't blame the Redskins for that. That's the only one thing I don't blame for them on that.
Yeah. And like I said, that's why I said even when it appears like they got it right. Like they went out, they got talent. The guy was great, but you can't, like, they talk about it a lot with like basketball. There's been a lot of like so-called busts. Greg Oden comes to mind. Like, I don't consider guys who can't stay healthy busts.
The bust, yeah. It's just out of their control. But
you take the best talent.
It's how they got hurt. You know what I mean? Like, who would have known, RG3 would be playing on the chip with his shoulder, trying to outdo everybody, be the best. We expect that from every player, but like he was doing some really questionable stuff, man. It's like, bro, slide, run out of balance. And it's just like you can't control that really.
You know who I get worried about with that? Like a lot of people are real high on Josh Allen heading into this year. But I watched him single-handedly blow a game against the Texans where there was multiple times where I'm like, just get out of bounds. You got the lead. Don't go for the first down. Oh, he fumbled it. Oh, he pitched it one play. I'm like, come on, dude. He's trying to run guys over. You saw that pitch, right? You know what I'm talking about.
He's fun to watch. I'll just say that.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's why I'm like, he's their franchise quarterback, and he's got the talent, but he scares the hell out of me if I'm a Bills fan because when it's 3rd and 3 and you guys are up by a touchdown in a playoff game and he's diving into a linebacker, fumbling the football to try to get an extra yard, you're going, slide. See what the measurement comes in. Maybe we got it. If we didn't, have some faith. We have a great defense.
You got Frank Gore.
Yeah, they got Frank Gore. But I mean, the Bills had a great defense. But we're getting off topic again.
Yeah, we got to focus on the Giants here.
So I feel like people listening are going, okay, so what you're telling me is the Giants have a middle of the road floor with a high ceiling, because that seems to be what I'm saying across the board.
My point here is, it's like you guys have 3 wide receivers so close in rankings. Like my personal ADP chart, they're literally like how I had Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods last year, like going into 2019 season. They were so close in rankings. So I feel like if they will be the late round version of that I had, because like you said, I had it Slayton, I had it Tate, I had Shepard, but you had Slayton, Shepard, Tate. You know what I mean? And like I said, with Shepard, it's the injury. He's hit or miss. We can't really determine what all 3 of them can do because, again, they weren't on the field at the same time that much to actually see the entire full Giants offense. So hopefully we can get that this season, at least for 4 weeks. 4 weeks, if we can get them all on the field, Evan Engram on the field as well, the new offensive line firing off, Saquon running crazy like he does, and Danny Dimes is protected and slinging the ball, that's where we can actually give the eye test, the measurement of who's the wide receiver 1, 2, and 3.
And I think that's a good comp because I look at like Shepard, and I think he's like a slightly worse version of Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at like Tate, and Tate kind of reminds me of some ways. He's got like maybe similar to like Kupp. And
Cooper Kupp, that's exactly where I'll do it.
And then Robert I think Slayton's got that chance to be like Robert Woods. He's got that chance. We don't know yet. He had one season. So
that is true. And the thing is too, like how you compared Tate with Cooper Kupp, they're both reliable receivers, I would say, being that, I feel like we can take Tate's resume from Detroit with the 90 catches. He was a PPR monster, and so was Kupp. So I feel like if they can get him going, I know if he's 32, but he can get hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
Oh
can
yeah.
get hot. He definitely, because let's talk about when he came back. Like when he came back, week 6 PPR formats, he put up 22 points. Against Arizona, then next week, 14, 16, 11, and then 22 against the Jets, and then you guys had a bye week. So he kind of got cold. He came back that returning week against a very tough Bears defense with 12 points. And then the rest of the season, it was hit or miss. But he finished the season with, like I said, the bar that I want from a guy that's going to be on my bench, between 10 to 15 points. He was hitting like 20 points, 17 points, 18 points, 14 points. Like it was here or there. And that's kind of like I said, where you're getting with Tate.
But
So I think PPR format, he could be very serviceable.
the thing I would say about that is like you're 100% right. He did really good there.
Mm-hmm.
What scared me a little bit was when Shepard was out.
Yeah.
And that was before Slayton was really Slayton. He was real hit or miss, starting to look good, but nobody knew what they had in him yet.
No, nobody did, because it took time for Danny Dimes to actually look his way to, build that little slight chemistry at the end of the season. So I think with the offseason, we can get something beautiful with that.
I feel like it was a large part of it was those 2 games Danny Dimes missed. Eli went a lot to Slayton.
Yeah.
I think that's where like Daniel Jones was like, all right, this guy's real fast. He's a big target. He can create some separation when you're in. So what Daniel Jones was doing a lot of, and you said it, was they were getting a lot of pressure. The tackles weren't great, and he was giving it to Barkley. Mm-hmm. And then Eli Manning came in, and he's like, this is a big receiver that can create separation. I'm going to give it to him when I'm getting rushed quickly. And Danny Dimes kind of watched that and goes, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Easy. Do that. All right. Why not? And it's not going to matter what happens with these receivers, by the way. Don't get scared about these receivers taking away catches from Shepard from Barkley, because Barkley's going to get his. He's going to get his no matter what.
No matter what. Like, I'm not worried about that, not one bit. Saquon will eat regardless.
Oh yeah.
There's no other plan. Like, I think with Jason Garrett, he's getting basically another Zeke out of that position. So he's like, all right, I got a stud running back. I'm going to keep doing what I was doing in Dallas. So why not?
He has, people forget that he's had great running backs in his systems before. You go back when he was the coordinator, he made Marion Barber look good. Then he made DeMarco Murray look amazing.
Made him look like God.
Yeah. I think it was the Eagles had him, then the Titans had him. He just never was the same after he left Dallas.
Yeah, because that old line was just so different. And like when you have a patient runner like DeMarco Murray and then like a downhill runner once he gets going, because once he hit that outside too, it was over. But when you have a solid old line like that, how can you not perform like that? And like you said, he had these running backs just be studs just in that system. Like he had Rod Smith for 2 weeks looking like he was God. So I'm like, holy shit, do I need to go grab Rod Smith off of waivers? And then Tony Pollard, another guy. He's another guy that I feel like he was destined to explode, because I watched some of his highlights and like he's a very explosive runner. So you put him behind that Cowboy system, that O-line, hell yeah, he's gonna look great. Anywhere else, we already know that answer.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's why I think Shepard's the only lot. I mean, not Shepard. I keep saying Shepard. Barkley's the only lot. Yeah. You got to get after Saquon, and then I think Slayton is the guy you put out a flyer on, because I think he's got a really good upside. I'm not taking Shepard and Tate unless they fall to me as a number 3 receiver.
I've actually, in our mock draft that I did 2 weeks ago, I seen Slayton go in the 6th round. Crazy. Really? Yes, I seen him go in the 6th round. And I was just like, wow, go get your guy. I guess you thought he was going to get picked up, because I think, honestly, he lives between the 7th or 8th round, because you already got your 2 stud wide receivers. You got your 2 stud running backs. Hopefully you grab the tight end or QB by that time, and then boom, sitting there with some depth. You're sitting at a flex position that can possibly be serviceable. Slayton does give me that vibe where he's going into his next season as the hot guy to be the, the wide receiver one. So I'm willing to take that, between the 8th and 7th round. But I seen him going in the 6th round to where, if you want your guy, you go get him.
And that's why I like doing mock drafts, because the question comes back is how many receivers were taken.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and who was left on the board.
Yeah, I made a huge reach. I don't usually take quarterbacks. I took Lamar Jackson in the 5th round this year. I looked like a god, patting myself on the back.
Yeah, you did. How did he fall that far?
I don't usually take quarterbacks though. He was the 6th quarterback off the board.
So this was reaching for your personal draft strategy.
Because I want to shore up my running backs, my receivers. I usually find myself sitting with like a Kirk Cousins at quarterback or like a Jared Goff
I've been there.
So all of a sudden though, quarterbacks are coming off. And I'm like, I got to go and get Lamar Jackson. I just had a feeling. He carried me to the playoffs where I lost in the 1st round, which I'm not too happy about, but
don't worry. I had the 1st round bye and I lost the first game I had. I went 10-3, most points scored in the league, and I lost the 2nd round.
So what killed me was this league was a 2 QB league. So it's a 10-man, 2 quarterbacks. And I was sitting there. I was in 2nd place in the league, and my quarterbacks were Lamar Jackson and Sam Darnold. And I'm like, I got to get rid of Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So I did a package to a guy who was a ways back. I traded Sam Darnold, and I want to say it's one of my backup running backs. I want to say it was Royce Freedman. And then since it's a dynasty, I also traded him pick next year. I think it was like a 5th or 6th round pick for Matthew Stafford. 2 days later, it turns out Matthew Stafford's done. I didn't even know he was injured. I'm like, what the hell? So now I'm playing like waiver wire quarterback. I played Andy Dalton, then he gets benched. I'm picking up Fitzgerald. Like, I'm just like, come on.
Oh my God.
And I was so pissed because I'm like, all right, you give me Matt Stafford with Lamar Jackson, I'm not going to be beatable. I remember the commissioner was all pissed. He was like saying like it was too early for teams to be tanking. It's only week 8. He was so mad when the
collusion.
And then like a couple days later, he was like, yo, you're an idiot for that trade. I'm like, come on, you tried blocking it.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in my face, you dick.
But that's what makes fantasy so great is like.
Yeah, I love the stress, honestly. Like I know people say they hate it. I love the stress. I love the drama, the chaos. I love it. You just got to deal with it. You got to scramble to figure out who you're going to get off of waivers right now, or make a trade that you don't want to do because you're struggling at that one position. It's part of the game, man. Nobody has a flawless season. It's never heard of. There's not one person I know that plays fantasy football said they had a flawless season, no injuries, no big time trades. I know a guy who was actually dealing with that Golden Tate trade when he went to the Eagles. So he was just like, damn, no bye weeks, sweet. But then the production just went straight down.
Yeah, he did not produce for the Eagles at all.
But that's the Eagles, man. It's just that's why I didn't understand that trade. Why there? You know what I mean? But players usually don't have control where they can go. But it was kind of expected. He was doing so good for Detroit. I just didn't understand it. But again, contract, wanted big money probably, and Kenny Golladay stepped in as an immediate playmaker. So that all plays a part.
And they sent him somewhere where they weren't going to have to see him.
Exactly. Exactly. Go away. We don't want to see you again.
Yeah. Like, all right, we don't want to pay you, but we still know you're good. So head over to the NFC East. Go over there. Go to the Eagles. Like, you don't see him trading them in division.
No, you rarely see that. No. Except for you guys. You guys got him within the division, but he didn't do much. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, he had some good games. He had some good games,
He was showing off too, catching the ball, running backwards. Like that was cool.
Does the fact that he failed a steroid test scare you at all?
Forgot about that.
So I'm a little nervous. That's what keeps making me nervous. Is he looked like he had lost the step. Then he fails a steroid test. Then he comes back and he looks pretty good for the Giants. And I'm worried, like, has he lost the step and he only looked good because he roided during the offseason to get it back? You know what I mean? Look at some of those baseball pitchers.
I mean, this one goes into the psyche of being traded and being let go and stuff. Like, are you that good of a player anymore? You're 32 now, and like you start to think about your value as a player and like what do these teams think of you? So maybe the steroids played a part. I don't know. That does worry me now. So I might go Shepherd.
I just remember that. Like I'm a baseball fan. I remember that with like some pitchers that looked really, really good into their late 30s, and you're like, damn. And then all of a sudden comes out that all of them are on steroids, and the next year none of them can pitch. They all go from looking like they were still 25 to looking like their age. You're like, oh, there's Roger Clemens' fastball dropping off. Okay. He was still throwing 98 at 35 because he was roiding all the time. That makes sense.
Yeah, man, that stuff is no joke. You want to play like you're 21 again? There you go. I mean, I forgot all about that. That does worry me though, as I keep thinking about it. But I don't know. We'll see what we get. We'll see what you guys got going on for the first 4 weeks. Like I said, that'll determine who's who and who's what and who's not. And you know what I mean? I think the only two people we could say that's a definite come draft day is Slayton and obviously Saquon. Yep. Would you agree?
Yes, I'd agree.
Yeah. So the late round flyers will be possibly Shepard, Tate, or whatever the case may be. Maybe even that backup tight end. You know what I mean? Just to handcuff somebody's Evan Engram pick.
See, I don't think you have to draft him. I think no, I think Smith's gonna.
But I got 2 Giants fans in my league. I don't know, man. I don't know.
That's true. You know, I play.
You gotta know your league mates. You gotta know their habits or tendencies, man.
I play in a league with some Bills fans, and if you want a Bills player that you like, you gotta take them in the first 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the point like my big money league. We're going on year 4. I've had probably 0 offensive Rams players because everybody knows I'm a Rams fan. Gurley's gone, Kupp's gone, Cook's gone, Woods is gone. I never had or owned any of those guys for the past 3 years, being that I'm only stuck with a Greg Zuerlein and a Rams defense. That's it.
So I got a big question for you then. All right. Does Gurley still have stuff in the tank?
Yes. Here's why. Gurley is going into a offense. Well, let's say he's going to a team that understands his situation, but look at the contract. It's a 1-year deal. They're going to run him to the ground. They want Gurley, whatever Gurley was in 2016, 2017. They want what he was in Georgia. They're going to get that because they're going to give him the opportunity. The situation with the Rams, they weren't going to run him to the ground, being that we just paid him the money. So the issue was we want him to play out his contract. We want him to have the longevity. So we're going to cut back his snap opportunities. We're going to cut back how many times he catches the ball at the backfield. That was a smart play, a very calculated play. But once opportunity came to the table that we can move him, that's what happened. So he does have some fuel left in the tank. It's just a matter of how long in the season we'll get that top-notch Gurley that we know he can be. You know, because the Falcons, their backup is Ito Smith. So they didn't draft a running back either. So that lets me know, all right, they're going to run this guy to the ground. He's going to be, he's going to be the guy catching the ball at the backfield. He's going to be the guy in the goal line. He's going to be the guy until he is broken. So that's a little insight for, the Gurley owners, for people that are going to draft Gurley in these redrafts. You need to go get him. Not going to say what round.
I'm high on them because they pass to the running back a lot.
Yes.
And Hooper's gone. I know Hayden Hurst is there. Last time the Falcons had a really good offense and a real good run game. They went to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that was the 1-2 function. So I think Gurley, I'm really high on Gurley this year, and I probably shouldn't say that because now someone's going to go take him in the first round, so I can't get him. But
That's why I didn't say what round. I just didn't say anything because I know he's going to start. The closer we get to draft day, he's going to start climbing up people's draft boards. People are going to start catching the wave. I mean, I know I'm not the only one that's preaching that the Falcons are going to run him to the ground because I think that's pretty obvious, with the contract they gave him. So it's kind of like I'm not going to say what round. I'm not going to, give it out because I know my league mates watch my videos and they're going to try to snipe me, and I hate snipers. I hate campers. So there you go. But yeah, man, I think he has some fuel in the tank, and he's not going to be any, second round or first round pick. I can give that out. He's not worth anything in that ballpark. So there's that. But he's definitely worth to have on your roster.
No, I'm a big Gurley fan heading into this year.
Yeah, man.
And I'm happy because a lot of my league mates are telling me they don't like him. They're sick of him. So
Good.
I'm like, all right, good. Yeah, let him fall to me.
Yeah. Like the first year McVay came in, Gurley was going into the third or fourth round. I was the guy that grabbed Gurley in the third round, and I had already CMC and in the second round. So you should already know in 2017 I came out champion.
The rest of your team could be like,
I had Mike Evans as I took Mike Evans in the first round, and then I took CMC second, Gurley third. And I think I lapped up with Devontae Freeman as my flex. So that was a really interesting year for me. 2017, I just walked the park. That was close to flawless. I just said nobody has flawless, but that was close to flawless. So,
man, I mean, those running backs, you really could have been strolling out.
Yeah,
a bunch of you could have put out.
Gurley was putting up 30 points, CMC 35 points, and then they both put up 40 burgers one week for me. I'm like, holy shit.
You could have been
2017 was a very interesting year for me.
Yeah. You could have just not played a quarterback, not played a receiver.
My quarterback was Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan's not a bad quarterback though.
He's a every other year. I'm telling you, look at the stats. Every other year, it's on off, on off, on off. This year he's on. So go get him.
Oh, it's funny. It is funny, but it does seem that way. Like he's like finishes top 5, then he goes back to like 13, 14, then he's like the number 1, then he's 20.
Mm-hmm. It's so hit or miss with Matt Ryan, and it's every other year. Every other year, Matt Ryan wants to play football. But that's fine. That's fine with me. You just got to catch him when he's hot.
Well, I think we've hit everything with the Giants. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, we covered, the big question. I think the only narrative right now for the Giants is who is the wide receiver 1, and I think we covered that pretty much. And we'll find out the first 4 weeks who's going to stand up and show out. And honestly, like you said, I think the only 2 clears, Saquon and Slayton, that you could take safely and be confident to have them in your lineups. You know what I mean? I wouldn't take Slayton, high or anything like that, but he's definitely a guy that's going to see my roster and produce points week to week. And I can feel confident with him being in my flex and not have any worries because I know that Daniel Jones and Slayton, that chemistry is going to be very beautiful. You know what I mean? So,
their offense, I think, is improving. They improved the offensive line. I like
everything you guys did in the draft improved that team. So that's definitely a step forward for, Danny Dimes era. So definitely looking forward to it.
I was waiting because I don't know how much you know about our GM. I don't like Gettleman, the GM. I was waiting for him to pick like another running back in like the second round or something, reach on some skill player we don't need, or trade one of our best players, Odell Beckham for some peanuts or some of the other stuff.
Oh man. But I think you guys hit the draft well. I mean, I looked at a couple of websites that did your draft grades. You guys got like a B+, some, B- or anything like that. But the most important that everybody was writing about and stood out is you guys addressing that O-line. I'm telling you, that's a big help. Like that's gonna really help Daniel Jones develop, and that's gonna help him move forward. So I could definitely see you guys winning 8 games this year, 8 to 9 games. I'm not gonna be overzealous or be exaggerating or gas it, but I see 8 to 9 games you guys can win with this new O-line.
I mean, I don't think that's overly exaggerating. You're winning 4 more from last year.
Exactly.
And they were really bad.
And those were some games that weren't like complete blowouts. You know what I mean? You guys had opportunity and chances to win. It's just, you just guys didn't get the job done. So it's just a matter of, adding pieces and what you guys do in the offseason. With this whole coronavirus thing, I do think this alters some type of chemistry being built in practices and, training camp and all that stuff. So it'll be weird to see the entire league go through that with their rookies and stuff. But I think, you guys will be moving in a step forward in the right direction to actually be something. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that, about the league starting in October, maybe?
So I don't think the league should push back their start date.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should shorten their schedule, shorten the preseason, because, and I'm not a doctor, so nobody here take what I'm saying as Bible, but
Yeah.
I've been, my wife is a nurse, and I've been talking to some people who are much smarter in this than I am, and they keep saying that this is like similar to like the flu or a cold, where it's going to go down. The cases are going to go down in the summer. And I'm afraid if the Giants push their schedule, or the NFL pushes them back to October or November, and we don't have a vaccine, that we could see a similar outbreak next winter.
Yeah, it could just be all over again and be doing this for another 6 to 8 months.
And all of a sudden, the NFL's looking like the NBA, where like they're halfway through the season and then they have to shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shorten the schedule, play 14
This was
games.
my plan. Get rid of OTAs, get rid of preseason, obviously. Keep training camp, keep it, where they're able to read the playbook and get the playbook and be able to have team 1 and team 2, running with the 1s and 2s and stuff. But get rid of preseason completely. We don't need it. Let the guys get going, come September. And then whatever, I don't think we're going to get anybody that's going to be having like a fast start. Nobody's going to be playing hard. You might see a little jet lag with our star players, but that's fine. They're going to be worried about their health. They're not going to be trying to get hurt or anything like that. Yep. But like you said, there's no need to delay the season. Start on time, and then I think there was a report saying that they were looking at Saturday games. I would love Saturday games. You know what I mean? I thought it was awesome when they did the playoffs on the Saturdays. So they can do Saturday games.
No, there might not be college football. There's a very good chance college football is not going to happen. And I was just heard they had a guy on yesterday was Dan Patrick talking, one of the college players, and he was saying like, this is very hard for them because they can't go to see the team doctors and go to the team's gym. They can't go to a college gym. And he's like, pro players, they got their own doctors. They can afford to put their own equipment in. He's like, I'm out here doing push-ups and riding a bike. He's like, I'm not lifting weights. He's like, I don't have a doctor. He's like, I don't have the money to go see a specialist for my knee. Like, I'm out here doing push-ups, riding a bike, checking to see if it's swelling, and checking out YouTube videos to see what I can do to strengthen this knee because now I can't see the doctor. So I think that college football might need to either miss this whole season or set up some really good things for their health, because if somebody blew their knee out last year, a lot of them aren't coming from rich families. You know what I mean? They're not getting seen by specialists, and then you put them out on the field and you ruin their career.
Like that ruins everything that they worked for. You know what I mean? So like, I know a lot of players wouldn't want to risk that. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get that 1-star quarterback or linebacker or safety or whatever that went through injury prior, and they're not gonna try to risk that. Go into like this next season if they can't see the right specialist, the doctor, and heal properly. So I mean, it'll be weird to hear that there will be no college football. So what does that mean for the draft for NFL? Like, there's no top prospects that are supposed to be growing because they weren't able to perform. How does an NFL team invest in something that hasn't played an entire year of college football? And these are the years, the last senior years, usually the years that these players really develop and shine. So they're going to miss their opportunity on that. That's going to be weird. We'll see what happens with that.
It's all hard. I feel bad for the athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they can pull it off, just have no fans at the stadiums. You know what I mean?
That's a good call.
I
I
would
just
love that.
think that they got to be careful. I think that there's a good chance that they should just be shrinking the season for college because they got to make sure these guys get to see these doctors before they put them back out on the field.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like we're moving in the right direction. I don't know where you're at exactly, but I feel like my area in Jersey, we're kind of coming down in cases where things will probably slowly open up. I think we're headed in the right direction, and I'm glad, it's May and we're not saying this in July or August right now. So we have some time left where there's still hope because right now OTAs don't start. Training
No,
camp don't start. Nothing is like happening right now, which is good. So I'm glad we still had the draft. The draft was able to pull off. You know what I mean? So we're moving in the right direction to start on schedule.
yeah, I'm in northern upstate New York, so I'm about 3 hours north of the city, so about an hour and a half north of where the cases were bad, because
Yeah.
downstate in New York City was real bad. So we haven't been too bad here, but because New York City went in lockdown quickly, the rest of the state followed suit. So
Yep.
I feel like people outside of New York are like, oh man, you guys are getting killed, but it's really just
Yeah.
sadly just the city and the outlying areas. So we're pretty good up here.
Yeah. So I think we'll be able to start on schedule, and
Yeah.
I'll see my Rams play. You'll see your Giants play, and then we'll be back like it never left.
I'm so excited for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. I cannot wait for the season to start. I'm definitely hyped for fantasy as well, and I want to thank you for coming on today, man.
I want to
Appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're not following Real Deal Fantasy, he's got lots of good mock drafts, lots of good short 15 to 20-minute videos too, where he breaks down a player really well. I've been watching some of your videos the last few weeks since I started talking about doing a collab. I was very upset with myself that I just noticed I wasn't subscribed. So I subscribed to you today. And everyone watching this better be subscribing to you as well.
Yes, yes. It's crazy when I look at that number because the YouTube breaks down how many people that are watching are subscribed and not subscribed. So I'm in the high 70% of people that are not subscribed watching my videos. So I need you guys to subscribe to make that number alter a little bit, man.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely do that for them.
Yeah, man.
All right.
This was great, man. I got to have you on again. We got to do this again.
For sure, for sure. I was going to ask you, and I'll talk to you a little bit more over Twitter. Maybe next time you want to come on my channel?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For sure.
Good. All right. Then we'll definitely make sure we make that happen then.
Yeah, man. I'm excited and looking forward to that, man. I can't wait.
Neither can I. Thanks again for having me on. I really had a good time.
I'll see you. Yep. Peace.
Bye.